All right, YouTube, Jernos, comics, and pop culture. We are live. Uh, first time going live, guys. 3+ years doing this. First time live. We'll see how many viewers we get and how this goes. Be level. Right on, right on. Appreciate the support, man. For those that might be watching this after it's uploaded, you might want to skip through the first 5 minutes or so while we sit here live and wait for some folks to join. I got a lot of things sitting here that I want to talk about. I got my phone where we're gonna go over some comments because I'm gonna be talking about a lot of comments that have been left on some of my most recent videos, talking about issues with CGC, talking about state of the hobby, comic book culture, and of the market. Linkovich, what's going on? Appreciate you checking in. Um, so yeah, so let's for you guys tuned in, just hopefully you guys can chill and relax for a couple more minutes before I start diving into some things. Situated here. Hope everyone is having a good evening. Friday night. It's been a crazy week. And I will say I appreciate first off B Level for having me on his channel last week talking about Star Wars and whatnot. That really hyped me up, and multiple folks live, and we can actually sit and have a discussion. Obviously, two-way discussion with uh, folks commenting and whatnot, but it's one thing to have one person read comments and talk. It's a whole nother level to have a lot of people like sitting at the round table discussing things. So hopefully, if this goes well, I'll keep doing this and we can bring a lot of folks in. Um, Comic Don, what's going on? Double S. Thanks. Double S says he watched the Comic Tom, the uh, ones that I talked on about Comic Tom's top five like do nots or things, not to mistakes. They called it mistakes why you make, and so appreciate that. We could talk about that, and of course, anybody that's watching throughout this stream, if you got talking points or questions, drop them, and I'll go in on them. And like I said, I want this to be a mutual thing. This is a two-way conversation, and my deal here is really talking about issues that are both lighthearted to the hobby and deep, because this is something that we love and we're passionate about. And this is an art form. And with art comes culture, and with culture comes it's deep rooted. So, this isn't just fun and games. This is a lifestyle. This is a culture that a lot of us live by. But my main goal in having these streams, hopefully from here and into the future, is that we could talk about things to where we might not always agree, but we can build the talking points and off of different people's perspectives and opinions to where we can learn how to respect different opinions, but yet grow our state of mind too and how we see things, especially with a hobby like comic books, where you have a lot of old heads, so to say, a lot of old collectors that may see things one way. You have maybe the younger generations or newer collectors seeing things a different way. And the way I look at it is there's some truths in everybody's perspectives, and we all should be open our minds and kind of uh, being able to listen to other people's perspectives to where it can help us grow too, right? So let's get one more minute here before I kind of get into my first talking point. Oh yeah, Knives Out. I did, beloved. I did see your email. I was at work, but I don't know if I'll get to it this weekend. But keep me posted. I'll get to it sometime soon, for sure. There's a couple movies I want to get to. I still want to see a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Haven't seen that. I'm super hyped that Brad Pitt finally won an Oscar. I think that was definitely overdue. So, and was big on Ghost Rider comic books as a kid, but and even as an adult, I haven't really worked on a Ghost Rider run, but I've been wanting to. Punisher, absolutely. I remember one of my earliest memories of collecting was my brother, who was 2 years older than me, had the Punisher #1, And I still remember like the day he got it and him putting it in his box and me looking at the cover like this is awesome. First, I think the Flick Show was one of my favorite Marvel live action, including the movie. Man, I loved it. I loved both seasons, and I hope they bring John back into the MCU, prize his role for sure. Have you heard of Deadpool and Deathstroke? And yeah, absolutely. Oh, I like that. If for everyone watching that Star Wars and man, you got guts because in fandoms, right, and in geek culture, it's so for some reason I don't know. I love both. I love Star Wars and Star Trek. So for you to like those two, showing your love for both, I think that's awesome, man. So many people like fight like it's a battle between franchises and so. Okay, guys, it's after 8 o'clock. We got a handful of viewers, so I'm gonna go in to my biggest talking point of the evening. It does have to do with CGC and some of their issues, but I want to get back to that kind of later. I want to circle that, and but I want to start more as a whole of the state of the comic book hobby. And like I said, to chime in if you have questions or anything, please please comment and I'll try to get to them. And if I even have to stop what I was saying, I will address any questions or comments. So, but I've been I've been watching a lot of videos. I've been reading a lot of forums on like Facebook, in comic book groups, and even a lot of comments on my own videos about the state of comic books as a hobby, the state of the market, and what this is doing to it to ruin it, and this is going to ruin it, and the market's going to topple down, and all this stuff. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit. And this comes from somebody that has studied and has a degree in business. I've been in sales and retail management and behind the scenes running my own business. And I'm speaking on this from a comic book collector that's been collecting for over 30 years and as a business person. I think that right now the state of comic books and the hobby is extremely healthy, and I don't see it hurting anytime soon. Now there's obviously a lot of aspects to the hobby, and some things might be hurting more than others, but I'm saying as a whole, I don't think anyone has anything to worry about. I've been getting a lot of perspective of like more old head collectors that are talking about these new ways of collecting are ruining things. Slabbing comics is ruining things. Speculation is ruining things. And I'm going to black and white in black and white on the surface level of things disagree, but there's a lot of roots that we can venture in to talk about the details of why my opinion is what it is. First and foremost, let's believe I do think the industry, the publishers learned from the 90s, and I think collectors that are still around today learned from the 90s. We do not see books mass produced anymore in the millions. And I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I know that there's runs that are as low as like a standard print anywhere from 20 to 40,000. If I stand corrected, but it is really in terms of what's put out in terms of new books. Okay, so we're not the 90s. And the biggest thing that I think collectors fear, because I think the majority of collectors still collect back issues. Now, whether these are back issues from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or from Bronze Age or Silver Age, back issues are not directly affected by the current market and current production of current books. Okay, those are two separate things going on here, because you're always going to have collectors that have a demand for Silver Age books, for Bronze Age books, and even for more modern key books. Okay, so production runs and stuff that's going on week after week after week to your LCSs and however you're buying your books, that's not really affecting on here. So what the industry is doing for modern books isn't going to change the way collectors necessarily collect old books. So we definitely have to keep that in mind. I think the demand is continually rising still for back issue books. And the main reason is this: multimedia. Okay. And of course, first and foremost, uh, television and film. So, and Marvel's killing it. MCU, Disney Plus, this expanded universe that we are, 12 plus years deep into now, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. So this is allowing older folks to either stay in the hobby. It's allowing older folks that are new to the hobby come into the hobby, and it's allowing a lot of younger individuals to come into the hobby and search for key books, like first appearances of Wolverine, or we were just talking about Punisher, second appearance of Punisher, because you got these young teenagers in their 20s watching these shows, and they're going after these books, you know. So we got multiple generations of collectors going after key books, okay, or going after older books. Extremely, extremely healthy. Now, this is going to go into another talking point, and I heard people talking about this. I might even bring up a comment here that I received on a video from a comic book haul. Uh, the issue of speculation in key. And you guys don't mind if I can just take a minute to find this here. Um, let's see. Right here, let me pull this up. Actually, this is the wrong one. I'm not even going to pull it up because I'm going to just touch on what it talks about. So this comment was discussing the fact that the focus on speculation in key books is hurting the industry, and more specifically stated, it's hurting the LCSs. And I humbly and respectfully saying, my question is how? I did not receive a response, and there was no information provided on why this thinking was. But let me explain. Like, I'm going to use some of my local shops. Okay. A1 Comics. A1 Comics out of Sacramento, 3 locations now. A1 Comics has been around for over 30 years. They survived the 90s and the early 2000s, where a lot of LCSs, shut down and couldn't afford the brick and mortar anymore. What one thing that they do extremely well is find old collections. They do it, and I watch local LCSs, and I'm on how they do these things. They do this unbelievably well. Now, keep in mind, they have probably a much larger budget going in because they have 3 locations now, and their profit margins are already extremely healthy, so that helps. But besides the fact, they got there by doing things right in the first place, right? So they bring in collection after collection. I have to ask myself, like, where do they find these things? The point that I'm making here is, because they're so smart on bringing in books to their store as a selection to their customers, they're able to make larger profit margins off of the demand for key books. I mean, their money is not in back issue bin books that they have marked for $2, $3, $4, $5, or $6. And this is where A1 is so genius. They have 50% off back issue sales at least once a quarter. At least once a quarter. And then even more during the holiday. Are half off. And then they get people like me that go in there and buy a stack like this where they can make a little money. When they have these sales, their key books are anywhere from 10 to 20% off. Okay. Their genius is being able to get these key books in and make huge profit margins off books. So I have no idea how anybody can argue that speculating on key books is hurting LCSs or comic book sellers, whether or even online retailers. So That's just crazy to me. Now, one thing, and again, I'm sticking on the topic of the health of the current market in the comic book industry. How does a healthy market, and we can look at stock market or any kind of market where money is going into it. Love A1, yes, yes, fellow A1 customer, appreciate that definitely. The health of the market. Let's talk about stock market. Sometimes a healthy stock market, yeah, for me and you, right? So let's take a prime example. Let's say we want to get into stock and it's the year 1999 or 2000. Do it. I wait. 10 years later, I could have put $1,000 in and been sitting on six figures, right? Because of a healthy market. But then at that point in time, because of the healthy market, investing $1,000 isn't going to do nothing for me. So I use that as an example to where sometimes the healthy market can seem to, in a sense, hurt the little guys that want to buy. So let's bring that back to comic books. A healthy market could be driving up the price of books, key books, speculatory books, and that could kind of suck for me because once I want to get my hands on it, I may be late to it, right? And then instead of buying a Teen Titans 12 for cover price $2.99, it's a few later, and I'm looking at probably crapping out $100 to $200 for the book, and I'm not gonna. That's just me though on that book. But you see here, that's a healthy market still. It's not bad. It's just it's anytime there's a market, you got to play into it. You got to play the game. And for those kind of older heads that this may, hey, I get you, I hear you, but let me tell you that I've said this before in videos. If you are a true passionate collector, and for some reason you're upset because you just want that book to be part of your run, and you're not carrying the fact that it's a speculation book and that it's a key book that's now worth a whole lot of money. We have preview books, we have online forums, we have Go Collect. We have so many things to where we know what's coming out months before it comes out. Okay. We have pull lists to where if we were reading Teen Titans, we could have got that book for less than cover price if your LCS gave you a 10% discount because you have a pull list, right? Or something like that. Or like Midtown. And I order 3 months in advance and get 35% off. So if I was really into reading Teen Titans, I would have had it. Obviously, I'm just using Teen Titans to where if we don't like the speculating game, get ahead of the curve. Get ahead of the curve and drop $2 or $3 or $3.99 beforehand. So also let me kind of bring this into kind of a side talking point now about how speculation is negative for the market. And we got people, we're in the age of social media, right? And we got people driving up speculation books from left and right all around us, social media, Instagram, YouTube, everyone's talking and everyone's chimed in. So we live in an era where once there's like leak, it's not even an announcement. Oh, this character might show up in this movie. The next day on eBay, you see a dollar book shooting up to $20 or $30, right? It's crazy. The hype of Galactus showing up in the next phase of the MCU. This was a dollar bin book, and I got it for $5. I got it for $5, probably a near me for $200 at a or best offer. It's funny because I put $5 and it was denied. So funny. I think I started with 2, went up to 5, and said that's where I'm stopping. Got this one for 5. Anyways, my point being speculation. Speculation is not new. Speculation has been around since the 70s. In the early 80s already, Silver Age books were worth thousands of dollars. And we're not even talking about Golden Age stuff. We're not even talking about Action Comics #1 or Superman #1 and whatnot. So this is nothing new. And I know, like, I'm not too young, but I'm not too old. But I know there's collectors old that were in time collecting, probably as either young kids or teenagers during the late 70s and early 80s, when the market of speculation was already happening. And for those that hate of increases in value of books, okay, you have to understand basic economics. Okay, basic economics. Basic economics is supply and demand. I'm gonna read this comment. I believe the hobby is strong right now. When I started collecting in the late 70s, we were spewing back then. Thank you, stating that. Hialeah. I hope I said that wrong. If I stated that wrong, please correct me. But yeah. So definitely, it's like this is nothing new, and it's something that comes with the territory. And anything. I mean, like when something is finite and there's a large demand for it, people are willing to pay more to get their hands on whatever it is. I mean, it's not it's everything in life. I was into speculation when I was 10. Absolutely. I was too. I remember Venom and Carnage. That was huge. And to me, that's part of the fun. And of course, see, speculation isn't just speculating because you want to flip a book. You want to make money off it. Speculation is getting a hot book because collector, I have a hot book. Yeah. When I was 10 years old and in Carnage was coming out, I wasn't speculating on it or wanting it because I was thinking in my head, oh, I'm going to flip this and make money. I had no idea about that. I was speculating on it because it was the hot book. Who was this hot new character, this hot new villain? I'm going to grab this. I'm going to make sure it's in my collection. So, you know, it is fun even if you don't sell. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I talked about this, and I'm going to bring up my video that I made discussing the pros and cons of Comic Tom's discussion with Gem Mint about how they were saying the 5 mistakes collectors make. And one of them was, if you're not flipping and selling, you're making a mistake. I am a hoarder. I hoard my books. Every single one of my books is special. I don't sell my books. I do have in the back of my head long-term investment. It is a goal of mine in terms of long-term investment, whether I ever need to fall back on something or what I want to leave for my kids or my grandkids, maybe to help them get through college or something. Believe me, the investment aspect is there. I'll get more into that later, but I'm going to go back into that the speculation and the not being new and everything, and not to be about it. So here's my thing. Get this comment real quick. I bought my 181 for my friend 30 years ago for $20 because I knew what the book was and would be. Whew, man, I wish I would have bought mine 10 years ago. But that's awesome. That is awesome. So yeah, just here's my thing about understanding the new blood in the game, in the comic book game, right? If we Here's my big question mark about this argument about key books and driving up the value of books and speculating being bad for the industry and being bad for the hobby. I completely disagree, because here's my reason why. If you didn't get your hands on it and you're mad about it, you had just as much opportunity to get your hands on it than anyone else. Like I said, we have preview books, we have social media, we have all these things telling us what's coming out. I remember this issue about the Red Goblin coming out a couple years ago now, 798, 799, Amazing Spider-Man. I had multiple copies because I ordered them on Midtown 3 months in advance, because I knew everyone knows if you're not educating yourself to know what's coming out on these books and you're mad about it, it's no one's fault but yours. Now, also, if you're mad about it because you're only in it for the love of the hobby, because you want to collect the books, collect the runs, and you want to read, or either you love the art or you want to read the story, and you're like, man, I can't read my story because this one issue in the middle of my run costs $250. Guess what? We have digital books now, and we have reprints coming out like every new comic book day now. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Or get your hand on a coverless reading copy. I got my hands on a coverless reading copy of Captain America 100 for $20, and then I got my CGC slab copy for my collection. There's no excuse. I did that when I was reading my Amazing Spider-Man run, and I got up to the 90s and more modern in the 2000s. I was still trying to collect every issue because I'm a collector of runs. But because I was reading, if I issue, no matter of the cost of it, I would go pay $2 on Amazon and download the digital issue just to keep up reading, right? So I don't want any diehard collector that enjoys the stories and just wants to read comic books come at one issue of their price, because you have multiple avenues of how you can read that book while only spending a few bucks. So there's no excuse at all, in my opinion. Now, let me take a breath here. I hope this has been concrete. I tend to be long-winded. We got a lot of positive. I want to take a break discussing these things, and I want to get to showing off some comics real quick. Now, I had a haul video done yesterday that I recorded, and when I tried to upload it, it was like encrypted for some weird reason. It wasn't letting me upload it. I tried to put it through my video editor. So I was like, man, but then I was like, let me do this live video and let me show this stuff off live. So without further ado, while we chill on some talking points, let's go into showing off some comic books. And it might be some that I mark off the key 2020 want list. So I got a stack of some books right here. I think I showed you guys this, but I did get this book, Amazing Spider-Man number 60, yesterday. Add to my Amazing Spider-Man run. There it is, decent mid-grade. It does have a subscription increase though. So I got all of these same eBay seller. I got this, love this cover, Avengers 49. This is in decent condition. It's kind of ripply. It's got some ripples because it has some moisture damage. I don't know if you guys can see that, but if you press this out, I mean, the corners are still sharp and everything. And I was going to give this a press and it would be amazing. But my issue is that there's rust on the staples. I don't know if you guys can see it in the live stream quality, but for those that don't know, rusty staples are a huge pet peeve of mine. I did a video about this like last year, but look at this. Let's see if you guys can see this. Can you see the oxidation going on, the darkness around? And this is actually another good talking point. See, the reason why rusty staples are for me, well, for one, I don't replace staples, so I don't know how to do that. But two, once there's any kind of oxidation on your staples, you're gonna get eaten up. It might be extremely slow. It might take 10, 20 years, but that rust and that oxidation is eating into your comic book little by little so this wasn't stated in and they didn't have an open picture to show the staples. So the seller did say he'd be willing to give me a refund. I can send it back for shipping. That's so cool. So, but I mean, this was decently cheap. So I don't know. I might hold on to it still. I just think it's really awesome that an eBay seller is so open to returns. All right, this is a awesome book to finally have in my collection, Amazing Spider-Man 62. This is another fine looking copy. Iconic Medusa cup. And this one is in it's got some like Do you see that? Or it's got some not ripping, and it took all the color out right through here. And I think the people coming off the cover as well. But still, like I said, super cheap book to get. Um, all right, definite issue for me here. Fantastic 453, second appearance of Black Panther, a nice high mid grade. I would think I might right here, but happy to have that. It does have a date stamp right there. I don't mind date stamps, but I cannot stand writing on covers. That's another pet peeve. All right, guys, this is the last book out of this is, and could it be off of the 2020 want list? And let me review with you all which books I had left on my 2020 want list. All right, we had Captain Britain #8, First Betsy Braddock, Psylocke. We had Uncanny X-Men 266, First Gambit, Fantastic Four 49, First Galactus, and Second Super, and Amazing Spider-Man 129, First Punisher. What could this be? Anybody want to take a guess before I show it? Let's see if we get anybody commenting here. What do you think this is off the 2020 want list? Hey, all right. We'll go ahead. Oh, here we go. One Amazing Spider-Man 129. All right, here. Boom. Comment Crip. How's it going, Mike? You're chiming in. All right, I got my hands on a Fantastic Four #49. I want to talk about this, guys, because this talking point is another thing that is really in hobby right now. I it took me weeks and weeks to figure out I was going to get this book and what book to go for. Okay, I contemplated getting a slab, getting it already graded, a CGC copy, a PGX copy. Do I get a lower grade raw, or do I get a purple label or a green label? So let me tell you my story here. There was a PGX. I believe they gave it a purple label because it touched ups and it was married. I don't know what page was married, but it was married, and it was a 5.0, and it was a little bit cheaper than this. This book was stated as a 4.0, by the way. Then there was a green label 4.0 CGC for like $20 less than this book. Okay, then there was probably, I could have probably hands on like a 2.5 blue label CGC, maybe for price. So I'm thinking, what do I go for? Do I get a blue label already graded that's a lower grade? Do I get a raw book that's a higher grade? Or do I maybe even get a slightly higher grade that's a green label or a purple label, all around the same price range, the same budget range, right? So it said it took me like 3 weeks to figure it out. I watched. I was patient, guys. Sometimes in this hobby, patience is key. Don't always jump at the first thing. Patience is definitely key, because I really do think I made the right decision. Now, here's the thing about CGC right now and why I didn't go with a pre-slab. I think the fact CGC's inconsistency in grades could have actually hurt my what I'm paying for what I'm getting, right? So say there's a book that was a 2.5 or a 3.0 CG. Say one day I crack that open, because of CGC's inconsistencies, it could be even lower than what it is. That is a possibility. Now, what this does, I mean, I'm taking risks in this too, because the seller is saying it's a 4.0. I can send it to C and get a 3.0, especially with their inconsistencies. A 5.0 maybe. You never know. It's all a gamble. But I think for a book like this, a high value key book that's getting hotter and hotter, and I do not see it slowing down, especially if we see Galactus in the MCU. This book, I think this book is going to be like like what Hulk 181 and even Hulk 180 has been doing. I don't see this slowing down at all. So I definitely think the raw book right now was a better option. And also because I can press this book up. I can press this book and get it in a bit condition than before or when I purchased it. So I definitely think I made the right decision. Patience is key. So I'm gonna out, and I know live stream video qualities aren't the best. There was one issue that I have with this book, but if we look at the cover, it's nice and smooth. No color breaks at all through the cover. A little bit of fringing along the edges. Even the spine is nice and solid. I mean, there's a few color breaking spine ticks down here, but it's really nice. Not even really a spine roll. I can press this and get it nice and flat. There is, let me come in here, at the bottom of the cover. I thought it was just wear at first, but if you guys can see that, it's a chip missing right there. And one thing that I oh, when I talked to the seller and they said they'd be willing to, they said if I bring this into CGC or CDC ever and get it graded and it comes back lower than a 4.0, they will give me a partial discount back. This seller is awesome. Comics for less, I believe. So guys, go check them out. They have like auctions every week and they have a lot of good stuff. And the dude, I'm assuming it's a dude. That I shouldn't assume. Who knows? It could be anybody. Could be multiple people, but they're really humble and very customer focused. But there's about a centimeter long rip in the middle of the book, at the edge of the book, and I don't know if you see that right in front of my thumb. Do you guys see that? So I saw it. I was like, man, because that wasn't stated in the description. But when I sent my email, was like, man, like this rip, I don't know, is this going to bring down the grade? And he was like, I'll pay shipping, send it back if you're not happy. If you send your CBCS and it gets lower than 4.0, I'll give you some partial credit. So what I said to him was like, since you seem to be an honest person, did you know the rip was there prior to evaluating the grade? And secondly, sorry, I got squeaky doors in the background. Secondly, your honest opinion, didn't know it was there. Do you think this book is still a 4.0? So I'm going to see what he has to say about that. Otherwise, I'm still extremely happy with this book and so happy that I have it. Travis asked how much was it? Okay, yeah, comics for less is very good. Definitely. I'm not going to discuss what right now because I'm going to save that for another video. I am going to do a video specifically talking about kind of like how I did within the current market on this book. I did this before on some of my key books that I got. So it's a great question and I want to tell everyone, but I want to make sure it's in the specific video. So definitely look out if you're subscribed, look out for that video. I'll probably do that video within the next week or so. You can also, if you find me on Instagram at Jernos, find me there. I'll send it in a message. If you don't want to, be left waiting. So there's that. Now, I talk about WD-40. Yeah, I need to get some WD. Talk about CGC. So, Double S, thank you. Appreciate it. And again, guys, any feedback, any questions, let me know. All right, CGC slacks. Guys, video talking about inconsistency in grading. If you guys haven't watched it, go back and check it out. I think it did it like a month ago. Show you guys here. We got 2 books. I'm not going to go too much into detail right now. We got my 9.0 second appearance of the Punisher and my 7.0 early Silver Surfer and Galactus. And guys, I'm telling you, these books, if they do not look exactly the same, this one's even better. This is sharp corners on both, spine ticks, no anything. And this one actually has a right above Spider-Man's head. I cleaned it up a little bit, but this is inconsistency in grading. And this book is a lower grade than this. It's not by 2 whole numbers, not at all. I've heard so many stories lately. There's been proof of books coming back damaged, but still getting a higher grade as the grade that they were probably when they were sent in. Uh, so many things going on. I made the video the other day about the video that CGC posted on Facebook, flipping through a Superman #1 lower grade, how to cut out, but still that book has to be worth probably at least $150,000 in the condition it's in. And I'm just roughly basing that off of seeing it in that video. And this guy is handling a book. And actually, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna grab a book and let me see where I got like a book that I don't care too much about. Um, let's see. Nah, I'm not even gonna do that. Hold on 1 second, guys. Don't go nowhere. I'm just right over here. You just can't see me. All right, I got me a book. I'm gonna address something here. Somebody commented saying, "What's the right way to handle a book?" So let's talk about the handling of the book, and then we'll get back into inconsistencies in grading and what this means to the industry. This is one thing that can negatively affect the industry. I do believe so. But let's look at this book. A random, this is double or something that I had. Probably was gonna give it to a nephew or something. Probably got it in the 50-cent bin. Now I'll tell you what. Me handling this book, and again, guys, this is my opinion. If you don't agree with me, don't do it. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I feel me handling this book right now, just like this, is better than that guy was handling that Superman #1. Now, I'm gonna do something, okay? I'm gonna crease, and this hurts me because I've said my argument for this is I handle books that I get in the 50-cent bin with just as much love as I handle any other book. But for the sake of argument here, I'm gonna bend this book. I'm gonna put a crease, a similar crease that was in that Superman #1 right down here. Okay, look at this. Boom. Here's the crease. Now I'm gonna take this crease and I'm gonna bend it the other way. Boom. I'm gonna bend it the other way again now. Then the only you get a color breaking crease is if you do this a good few times, right? And you start adding more and more stress. Now that's really color breaking. Now this cover paper might be a little more flimsy than golden age paper, but still making. Now that I'm gonna bend all of these pages inside along the same bend. Now, you tell me that if I'm handling a book, and I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see this, and I'm putting pressure with my thumb down on it right here, like this, and this is this is what he was doing, this and then doing that, this and then that, okay, this and then that. That is a repetitive motion to a bend that is already there, that is going to hurt the book. Regardless, you are putting stress on a part that's already stressed. How many of us have made, let's see, how many of us used to, I was gonna use a paper airplane thing. How many of us have made paper airplanes? But how many of us have had to get a piece of paper, for example? I don't have just a piece of paper out here, but how many of us have gotten a piece of paper and couldn't find scissors, right? What do you do to that piece of paper? You bend it, you make the line, you bend it one way, right? And then you make it nice and then you flip it the other way, like I do on that front page, and then make it nice and tight. And then you bend it back again, back in. And then what do? You might lick it, right? You might get a little wet. But the point is, you got to bend it back and forth, right? To get that. You mean to tell me that an 80-plus-year-old book that already has a color crease this big with creases going down like that is not going to get more by just putting a constant. And this is, I'm not even bringing up the other ways that he handled it. You know, when he put it in the bag, he held it, he held it like this, putting it in the bag. Exactly. I didn't have an issue with no gloves, but the way he was turning the pages, right. And the no, somebody, good time to bring up the no gloves thing. I get it. Like, I've been doing my research about how no gloves can be effective, but I've also been doing research about cotton gloves and how those can really work. So um, I understand why they wouldn't wear gloves, but somebody brought up the fact that books have been sent in and have received actual stating in the grader notes thumbprint on cover when there wasn't a thumbprint before. So if they're not wearing gloves, why are they not washing their hands and putting thumbprint on those books? So that's an issue. So yeah, if you're not wearing gloves, you better be. I mean, I saw a cell phone or something. Who else knows what was on the table? I hope he had at least a bottle of sanitizer, because that guy is sitting at that booth with probably multiple books coming in. So he better at least have some. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, yeah. Travis, you were talking about the thumbprint. Yeah, yeah. Crazy. It's crazy. It really is. So, man, look, I'm telling you guys, it hurt me just to do this, but for you guys. And this book is just this is not a key book. So when somebody asks, well, what's the right way to handle it then? You're not a professional. How do I handle books? Let me tell you something that I had sitting out that I haven't read yet. Okay. When I pick up a book, I usually handle it like this. Okay. I don't want to, it allows it to not like the weight to go down on one side, which could affect the spine or whatnot. Okay. I'm very careful of the spine always. When I turn a page, I use, I don't usually use the tip of my thumb. I go like this, but then I will grab it. I kind of get my thumb underneath. I will grab it, but when you grab it, you can't press. You got to be gentle. And I always am careful of not pulling the book. And I think that, like, he even popped the page when he turned the page with the cutout and he popped it. Like, what the heck? Like, pop. Whoa. Anyways, and I turn like this. I turn like that. Simple, right? And then I let the page fall on. And these are for reading copies. For reading copies, let alone books that like have value. It's crazy. And I know the argument is these guys are going through a million books. And my thing was, it's like if okay, if I was paying money to have like Dale drive my car to grade it for some reason. Say, cars, say I Mustang, right? Or a Camaro. And I wanted it graded on performance, right? Um, and you, in order to grade it on performance, it would have to be done like on a public street, because it's not a race car still. Do I want Dale Earnhardt driving around public streets in my car at 200 miles an hour, knowing that he might be able to get away with a lot more than all of us, right? No, I would want him driving extremely safe in my Mustang. Just Dale Earnhardt doesn't mean I want you riding around crazier than I drive it around. Now, some of you might have nice cars that are crazy, that don't take care of your cars anyway. So you guys are the exception to the rule. But do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I know these guys grade a whole bunch of books, and you can tell this guy's flipping through it like crazy, knowing like, oh, it looks like he handles a bunch of books. It doesn't matter. You have to handle the book. You have to handle the book with care, man. Oh my gosh. So let me read some comments here. Don, what's going on, Don? Hey, I want everyone to give big congrats to Don Comic Book Junkie for 25,000 books. Let me tell you guys, this guy is like my Jackie Robinson, man, or my Michael Jordan, because I probably wouldn't have ever started YouTube not for Don. And this guy has really inspired my comic book collecting. And it's cool. It's interesting because I watch his videos and we have so many similarities in how we collect, and I love it. So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. If you guys aren't sub to, hey, matter of fact, I want here to sub everyone up right now because we got some good people in here. So, yeah. So yeah, back to CGC. I'm gonna end it on the video, right? It just handle your books with care. You know, and if that doesn't care about the value and you want to handle your books in such a way, fine. 98, 99% of the people that chimed in and have chimed in since don't want their books handled like that. Okay. And that's just the people spoke, right? Now, let's go into the bigger issue of CGC and why CGC can be extremely detrimental to the future of the industry right now. You got bad press going on in this video, okay? Also got yeah, I started watching Don too in like I think 2015, late 2015. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Okay, so bad publicity right now for CGC, and the irony of the timing of when this video posted. We having so many people coming on social media, coming on Facebook and IG and YouTube talking about inconsistency in grading and what is going on with that and slow turnaround. I waited 5+ months for my books last year, but the inconsistency in grading alone is going to kill the industry in multiple ways. One, it's going to kill the demand for slabs because, and this is pre-slab books. So say like us collectors, we're out to buy a book and we're looking to buy it slabbed already, right? It's going to kill that because I just talked about for FF49. I'm hesitant to buy a slab book because I don't know how consistent that grade is. You know, so it's going to turn buyers off from buying pre-graded books. So it's going to hurt those collectors that, right, that buy books to then go get them graded, or all these collectors that that buy graded books, crack them open, give them a press, send them back in, and they're spending all this money to do that, hoping to get a bigger return on investment. When now people are having more, there's more caution around wanting to invest and buy these pre-slab books because am I actually getting the value of the actual grade? Is the grade actually reflecting the value that I'm paying for it, the price that I'm paying for it? Or is the value of the book equal to what I'm actually paying for it? Travis says, CGC exercises favoritism. That's another thing that's going on here. And I believe that to be for both turnaround times and for grades. Like I heard the thing with the Todd McFarlane signing. It's like are they giving them a like a, you know how teachers would grade on a curve? Are they grading on a curve to hype up the Todd McFarlane signed books, where books that might normally be 7.0s, they're getting 9.0s? It's crazy. But I also believe there's favoritism in maximizing their profits by streamlining those that do the I forget what it's called, and I just was looking at that tier where you pay for the express shipping. You pay more money to get your books back sooner, right? So I did I don't want to go into that whole, but I used an example of how that bottlenecks, like Starbucks or any retail store, and they're bottlenecking the customers that are going through the door, just the guys that are doing the mobile ordering, because maybe they're making more money off the mobile ordering because they're charging 50 cents more a latte. And you take all of your baristas and say, well, we're making more off of these orders. We're just going to make you guys in line wait. So there's favoritism there. And that's why we are waiting 5 months. They're pushing standard paid books, that standard tier book. They're sit in the warehouse for as long as they possibly can. I think if CGC or CBCS use overshoot grading guide and mystery rules, there would be more consistency. Just my thoughts. Yes. Now, okay. Now, somebody commented saying, well, what do we, what's the solution? At first, I'm like, solution? I don't have the solution. My solution is complain about it. And they're like, well, yeah, you can have a solution. It's not up to me to have a solution. It's up to them to solve their problem. But I think what this individual was saying was, what do we demand? How do we hold them accountable? It's not necessarily solution. Ultimately, companies, they hold the key to solving the problem. We don't. We can't do anything except for like control our purchase power, not give them our money, right? A solution though would be for us to hold them accountable. And like Joe just said here, where is the grading guys? If these grade professionals, where's the guidelines? Where's the transparency in them? If all these inconsistencies in grading, so they were streamlining every single book by the same excruciating, meticulous rules, the inconsistency in grades would not be so extreme. Now, of course, everyone says, well, it's just somebody's opinion. Yes, but again, if we are rating it, if the criteria, the grading criteria is meticulous as it should be, this would eliminate the problem. And I think that's one thing we got to keep this conversation going and hold these companies accountable for transparency, their detailed criteria on their grading system. And I don't think we have that at all. I do not think that we have that. Seems like every book at C2E2 St. Iturus came back 9.8. Yeah, and I'm assuming they because it's that same day, it's that higher tier. You're pulling in more demand that has a higher profit margin. You know, and you think about this from a business perspective. If you think of fixed cost, every fixed cost, right? And fixed cost is everything. It's what you're paying for your laborers, right? It's what you're paying for the utility bills. If you have a factory, it's the marketing, the promotion, and then you take it marketing spend in, you divide that up between all your costs. Every unit produced, okay, has a fixed cost because you break it all down. So if a fixed cost, if you are pumping out or book in ratio to that fixed cost, that per book is going to shrink. So pumping out more books is going to shrink the fixed cost. And if the profit margin is higher, that cost margin is going to shrink too. Meaning if you could spend 1 hour doing your standard tier, that costs like what, $28, $30? Or you could spend an hour doing same day turnaround or next day, whatever, at double that. That fixed cost margin is shrinking and your profits are going like this. And I think that's what CGC is doing. And here's the problem with that. They are going to neglect a large portion of their customer base. And if they're thinking short term. That's the problem with businesses that think like they're thinking big money short term when they need to be thinking about long term, because if they keep this up, that long is going to start dipping really hard. And if they keep this up and this happens, the most detrimental thing is not the fact that C going to get hit or CGC customers are going to go over to CBCS. You know, it's going to screw up the market, because if there's no validity in the grading system, it's going to screw up the market. Similar to if you look at the stock market, when there's a scare, like well, you see with this virus stuff going on right now, if there's any hesitation on what people that are investing their money in the market are doing, what are they doing? They're pulling their money out of the market. Same thing with comic books. If a large majority of collectors are putting their money into slab books, okay? And they start pulling that money out or holding on to that money, it's going to hurt the market. And that's one issue. No, let's go all back to the beginning of my live stream. And I talked about the health of the market being, I don't see any real issues with the health of the market. This is one thing that can hurt the health of the market. And what collectors might not understand is that if the money being poured into CGC and these companies like CBCS starts getting pulled out, it's not just going to hurt those that collect, sell, or buy slab books. That can definitely hurt the market overall. Be a domino effect. So you can have collectors that buy raw books with the intent to slab, especially if they're flippers, start pulling their money out of buying those raw books. They don't want to speculate on those raw books anymore because there's no validity in a higher return for them to go get it graded, for them to press it up and go get it graded. So, and then that can start, the value of these books can start dipping and you can see a downward trend. With that being said, I don't think that's, I hope that doesn't happen. And if there is a downward trend because of the CGC stuff, I think that all the other variables keeping the market healthy are going to hold it up. You know, we might see a little bit of dip, but like I said in the beginning of my live stream, there are I think there is new day to this hobby every single day. Young and old. I mean, I'm on Facebook forums and I see old folks. I mean, maybe not old 80-year-old senior citizens, but you know, people 40s and 50s coming in. I'm new to collecting, or I've been out of collecting for 20 years and I want to get back into it. What should I invest my first $500 on? Things like that. We got young kids getting into comic books for multiple reasons. I mean, we got young readers again, guys. Let me kind of go 360 here to these old collectors that are so concerned. You know, I use it's like every generation. I mean, look at rock and roll, right? You got the great generation having babies that are coming of age in the 50s and 60s, and they got their music, and it's called rock and roll. And it's the devil, right? It's horrible. It's this and that. And then you get to the 90s and you got this next generation that's listening to like punk rock and rap music, right? And it's always there, these new trends and this new thing it's wrong. And you even see that in rap music these days where funny how rap in the 80s and 90s, but these old rappers now that were even kicking like that, you know, street rap back then don't like what they're hearing now, but it's just because it sounds a little different. It may look a little different. Some of it may be garbage. Don't get me wrong. Um, oh yeah, right. Let me show you guys my gray hair under here because I do have some. Anyways, my point is, I just think these old timers, and I don't mean old as in age. I mean just folks that have been collective. You might be from a different generation, and you're worried about how these new collectors are collecting. Don't be so scared. It's something new. It's something fresh. And as long as people are tuned in, it's healthy. Okay. So many people are reading comic books and superheroes again, and not just superheroes. Look at what companies like Image are doing with their independent stories that don't even involve superheroes. You know, like American Vampire, Monstrous, and you know, all these different types of creative writing that are going into the graphic genre. I mean, I work at a school and I got first, second, and third coming to school with graphic novels of whether they're manga, however you want to say it, or whether they're graphic novels of Marvel or DC or some independent stuff for like Adventure Time stuff, Scooby Doo stuff. And then I even have a group of creators that make their own comic books, like I used to do when I was a kid. And I actually just found out about this yesterday, and I said, guys, I want to see some of your stuff because they said they have some of it on display in the school library. That's freaking awesome, man. That is so awesome. Young kids stuff, and it's because of the movies, the TV shows, even the cartoons, and it's because of us guys that have kids now that are bringing our kids into this hobby. My young he loves reading comics, and he will read them, and he doesn't care about, he will turn them like a professional. My son reads his books like a CGC professional because he beats them up and he doesn't care because he loves the story so much. I try to tell him, you got to take better care of your books, but okay right now. Let me bring up one thing too about variants. Variants are going to ruin the industry. Guys, I think it is so crazy that people will 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 bucks on a variant book. Go spend 30, 40, 60 bucks to get it pressed and slabbed by CGC. But guess what? That's what they want to do. They want to do. And guess what? I don't need to pay 30, 40, 50, $100 for a variant. I don't need to. Nobody's twisting my hand making me do that. I don't need to send these books to GC. I don't care that companies like Marvel or DC want to make freaking variants and charge $4.99 or $7.99 for every variant. It doesn't affect me because I don't need to buy them. I can buy one if I want to collect one because it's a run I like, or because I just want to read the book. Whatever reason, or because I like the cover, I can buy one. Those other ones don't affect me. Funny thing is, still, guys, we are printing less. There's less of the same book because they want to make variants. So, let me read a couple comments here. Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that. I see, Lisa says, I see all ages in my LCS, young kids going for the silver books and holders going for Wednesday pull list. It's all relative. Exactly. Absolutely. But, it's just, we don't need to buy them and it's breaking my bank. What am I going to do? And I'm like, dude, you don't need to buy them all. If you have one book, it's the same book, it just has a different cover on it, right? But hey, if you really have the OCD, such OCD to have to buy every book, hey, but don't cry to me when you can't pay the electric bill, right? So it's like nobody's twisting anybody's hand to do anything in any business. Okay, in any business, the companies are the fishermen and we are the fish. And whatever we are biting, they will continue to reel out to us over and over again. So the industry is only doing what the market is demanding of it. The industry is only doing what the consumer demands of it. Now, I will say that's not always 100%, 100% in the sense that industries do try to manipulate markets. Industries definitely try to manipulate markets. So let's talk about the free market. I'm kind of getting a little bit, but let's talk about the free market. The free market is not really a free market because you got to think about the one thing that drives market first and foremost, and that's cash, money, right? How to finance this stuff. And then you've got supply, whether it's services or raw goods, or whether it's put together goods, a physical good, right? The money drives the first and foremost. And when you think about our national economy or even global economy, we do not have control of, we do not have the control of the flow of money that is out there because it's essentially hoarded by top debt. We live in debt. And that's what allows the banks to gain wealth and all this stuff in this circular flow. This is what allows the wealthy to stay wealthy and the poor middle class to stay poor and middle class, because essentially being lower income, life is costing you more. It's a cyclical cycle and it's hard to pull out of it, right? So our demand is essentially in with range of what we can possess by our purchasing, by our, like a a commune where everyone was handing out the equal amount of money and then said, go buy what you want. Go, supply and demand would be completely different. It'd be completely different. Free market, right? So the free market doesn't necessarily work like that. We have to work for money. And some jobs, the wage gap doesn't make sense sometimes. Like I don't, educators, and me being an educator, pay crap. I'm going to tell you guys, I can make more money right now flipping burgers at In-N-Out than I do teaching your children. It's crazy. But of course, I have goals, and this shouldn't be forever. I'm going to work the ladder up, get more money and more money, and have, a pension and all this stuff. But so there's wage gap, there's the flow of money. We have to earn what we have in order to demand what we want. So that's the where it doesn't work percent valid. But still, even with that being, or the industry can only manipulate the. I think over the last 10 years, the comic book industry has really tried to manipulate the market just to see what would bite. The idea of resetting runs over and over again, right? Having a run go for just 12 or 24 issues and resetting it, charging $5.99 or $7.99 for that new number one. Creating new teams or how they put stories together. They're always trying to figure out where's the market going to bite, raising the cover price on books, messing with print counts, messing with variants. They're always trying to manipulate the market, but at the end of the day, essentially, we are in control of what we demand and what they supply us. So definitely keep that in mind. Stepping stones. Yeah. I appreciate it, guys. Man, this has been going for a little over an hour now, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I think I'll keep this going for a little longer. We could do a talking points. One thing that I want to do, I'm going to take kind of a quick little breather out of talking points and take this time to really show again the stack of books that I have here for my 1,000 subscriber giveaway, which is like months in the making, guys. And I have this stack here, and I will be adding to it and shooting for to get it up and going in April, where I'll post a video and I'll have people understand what they need to do to join us. And from there, I'll let it sit, and it'll probably go for a good 2 or 3 months, and then I'll announce the winner during the summer when I have more free time on my hands. So definitely looking forward to that. That's long overdue, man. That is so long overdue. I think the last one I did was for 500 subs, and I'm over 1,200 now. So all right. Does anybody have, move into something else? Does anybody have any questions, suggestions? Anything that we can touch on for this last, maybe I'll probably go for another 30 minutes before calling it a night. Right on, Don, man. Your 1,000 sub contest was still one of my favorite things I've done on my channel, for sure. Any questions, or I'm thinking about what we talked about. We talked about state of the hobby, health of the hobby. We talked about CGC on multiple levels. We talked about speaking and key books and the different ways of collecting. And when Marvel went public in the early 90s, the stock price by increasing basic books from 75 to 125. Same thing going on now. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It is tough. We live in an age where it's tough, where that's kind of a fine line with what they're doing with cover price too. Um, okay, DC 5G, DC 5G. I don't need what is this? I saw it and I think I something on your channel too, Don. I have no idea. Quick DC and Marvel guy. Oh, I know the one thing I do want to talk about. Um, I'm gonna pop off camera for about 10 seconds. Oh, my internet connection is messing up. All right, I'm still here, guys. I don't know if we had a break. Isn't it a universe blow up and then oh, okay. I think I did. I think they're killing all legacy. Wow, man. Okay, I'm gonna pop up in seconds. I got two things to talk about. We'll talk about this DC thing, and then I want to talk about why I think collecting Bronze Age Marvel books, especially right now, is where it's at. Give me about 10 seconds. All right, all right. All right, I'm back, guys. I had to get, it was getting, man, but got my Marvel going on here. Okay, so, okay, let's talk about this. You has been acting up on almost every channel. Yeah, you know, my internet sucks too. Ow. I behind the scenes assistant here, bringing me some water. I'll say what's up.
Hello. Man, it is laggy.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Here's my little dude. He's out here playing some 2K, NBA 2K. So yeah, wow. Okay, so if I don't know, I really don't know what to think about that because you know, you think with what they did with the New 52 DC, I don't. It was kind of like a rock and a hard place. You know, I felt like there was positive things about 52, but then there was a lot of negative things, right? And then you know, it only took them what years before they reset that and the rebirth and try to explain that whole thing and with Wally West coming back and all those things. I don't know. I really don't know because it's a fine line where you try something this big. And then who knows if they're going to kind of like retcon it a couple years down the line. And I think that sometimes hurts it worse. I think that I think when it comes to kind of like retconning and trying to keep things fresh, you know, the best was Marvel, the Ultimate Universe that Marvel went with in 2001. Let me guys tell you something real quick because in like 1999, right? 98 or 99, Marvel released a 12, I think it was 12, I believe it was 12, a 12 book limited series called Spider-Man Chapter 1. And they liked your cameo, buddy. Okay, 1998, 99. Spider-Man Chapter 1, right? They retconned Peter Parker's origin to make it more modern. And it was kind of like the way he got bit by the spider. I believe it was like in a Dr. Octopus demonstration or something. It was, I don't know, it was really weird. It was really strange. I own it. I issues. It was very strange. And it just didn't sit. It didn't sit right. And of course they retconned that again and put it back to the original. It's like, okay, we screwed up. But I think what Marvel was, they were realizing, well, how do we keep these things fresh? So instead of trying to retcon stuff, they created a whole new universe called the Ultimate Universe. The Ultimate Universe. When I started reading Ultimate Spider-Man, I couldn't put it down. I could not put it down. And what I did was I bought the trades, like used trades off of Amazon. $4 or $5, and just read out of the trades. And I read that whole series in a matter of like a month, and I loved it. I loved it. The Ultimates. I read the Ultimates one, Ultimate X. I'm not done with that. I'm still working on that. I've been diving back into that here and there. And you can as a solid fan of the original 616 and everything, and I'm like Gwen Stacy's character in Ultimate. I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't even know what. You get it. It's a whole nother reality. It's a whole nother universe. And for them to take something like that and open it up to a multiverse, I just think it worked extremely well. It allowed for fresh ideas and fresh stories to happen while still tending to, your vintage fans that don't want to see things crazily retconned and changed just to appease, freshness or new readers or whatever the case might be. So I hope it makes sense and outlines my thoughts on this whole idea of killing off all these characters and retconning. But the idea of killing off characters too, I mean, it's like you think about, on one end, we don't want to see our characters die and they're not there anymore. But then again, aren't we tired of these characters dying and just coming back and dying and coming back and dying back? So what do? Again, a rock and a hard place, right? So I think that that's why I like what Marvel did with Ultimates. But I'll tell you, and this is a spoiler for nobody that's seen Endgame, but I'm assuming everyone knows this. Tony died. Tony Stark dies. Iron Man dies. And it worked. Now, we don't know if he's going to come back some way, somehow. But that paid off. Me to live the rest of my life and never see Tony Stark or Robert or anyone in the MCU ever again, I'd be with. Unless it's like we're gonna see him in Black Widow because it was in the past or something like that. I'm good because it worked. I'm good because it worked. Let him lie, right? You can kind of take that perspective to the comic books too, and say, well, once we kill him off, if we kill him off in the right way, maybe we're, maybe you should stay dead. So I don't know. It is such a tough situation. Gwen Stacy going to Eddie Brock's college dorm during Venom's origin kind of freaked me out, though. I did like the AU though. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, bronze is where it's at. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about Bronze Age. So that's probably been my last talking point, unless anybody like drop something or ask some questions. So, oh yes, what you got to say?
Technically, the Ultimate Universe is still alive because of Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's in the Ultimate.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on with the multiverse still too, which we might see play out in the MCU. And that rhymed. All right, so guys, okay, Bronze Age Comics. Another forum that was on Facebook. So I'm reading this post, and they're like, man, guys, I really feel I'm collecting DC right now because that's where it's at, because Marvel's all hyped up right now, and nobody's paying attention to DC's books. And I was like, let me interject here. Now, I have nothing against that. Actually, I'm going to a patio sale at A1 tomorrow morning. It's a 50-cent dollar sale. And I've been so heavy on Marvel that I want to grab some like Wonder Woman and some Action Comics tomorrow for sure. But let me tell you why Marvel is still where it's at, specifically because of their Bronze Age books. DC is in a state where their DCEU, their cinematic universe is so dysfunctional right now, and there's so much surrounding it, right? That there is a lot of new hype around their comic books, new comic book characters that we might see on screen. Very, very little. What is you have the standard keys, really gain over time, as it should. for any book that's high in demand. So you got obviously your golden age stuff for DC, you got age stuff and some bronze age stuff, and then some keys throughout the years that are valuable in demand and that are still see increase in value, but you don't see this subgenre of film impacting books that didn't have a lot of hype come into the light and into the conversation value. You have Marvel on a level where it's not just books that are unattainable right now that are gaining value. So with DC, you got books that are probably unattainable to the average collector, and those that aren't gaining much value. Okay. With Marvel, you have books that are almost valueless gaining value simply because of speculation, because of the MCU and Disney Plus now and the expanded MCU. Okay. Prime example, I'll show this again. This book right here. Okay. Prime example of this. In early Adventure in Fear with Morbius. Okay, which is like $1, $2, $3, $4 book. That we could be seeing just early appearances of Morbius hit 10, 15, 20 bucks because of movie hype. And more hype on Morbius right now, not just because of his own movie with Sony, but because we know that's going to be now part of the MCU. So what I'm trying to say is the Bronze Age of Marvel Comics right now is something that we probably should focus. Now, I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but I'm suggesting that it is a very good age of books to focus on right now. There's books that are still attainable. And what happened during that time period is they're before the hype of the 80s where, you had these huge prints. Okay. They're still old enough. Plus a lot of new characters and new storylines introduced Bronze Age of Marvel. You've seen it with the Punisher, and you've seen it with Wolverine, and you see what happened with those of being unattainable, and that without like movie hype. When the movie hype comes with Wolverine, that book, I always say in X-Men, giant size X-Men, when we see you, X-Men, giant size X-Men, and Hulk 181 are going to be basically Amazing Spider-Man #1 type books or close there too. Now, I'm not saying that we're hype around Bronze Age first appearances like Nova #1, first appearance of Nova, or Marvel Spotlight 32, first appearance of Spider-Woman, Blade. You got all these characters. I'm not saying that these books are ever going to get to be $40, $50, $100,000 books, $500,000 books, like your Fantastic Four #1s or your Amazing Spider-Man #1s, but they have potential to grow hundreds of dollar books, even thousands of dollar books. Okay, and they're attainable right now. Marvel Spotlight 32. There's speculation about Spider-Woman showing you some way somehow, whether it be a film plus, and you could still get a high mid-grade of this book for like $50. Okay, that's happened for long. And I always talk about the bell-shaped curve. Okay, there's the bell-shaped curve when it comes to speculation and movie hype books. Okay, the bell-shaped means before the movie hype, the value's sitting right here. The movie hype hits, it starts going up like this. When the movie hype dies down, it starts coming downward, but it never gets lower. It hits the threshold. It's never going to go lower to this side of the bell. You start to see the bell shape, but then it dips and settles. And then over time, what comic book does in a normal market, gradually increase. Okay. So that's why I'm saying right now, Bronze Age Marvel books is still it. Don't stop. You love DC, collect what you love. Old Man Gamers Chris always says collect what you're passionate about. I just had this about my pros and cons of the Comic Tom video saying what you guys should do as collectors. I love those guys and I love the advice they gave, but my thing was there's no wrong or right way to collect. Right? So to wanting to get books that are attainable right now that might be unattainable or might be doubling in value in the future, definitely look out for Bronze Age books. Let me read through some comments here. Into Fear 20. Bronze Age horror is underrated, definitely. And hey, if we see a lot of the if we see the MCU horror side and that horror genre really come into play, a lot of those books can really start going up in value too. But Joe is saying there's a lot of demand for those horror books. Yeah, definitely. I love all ages of horror myself. Watch out for Special Edition 15. Has potential to blow up if movie gets big. DC is doing this 5G because DC sales are down, and AT&T thinking about pulling the plug on DC publishing. Yeah, that sucks, man. DC 5G doesn't take off. After that, AT&T licenses the DC characters to other companies. Man, yeah. So it's that whole DC thing. I mean, it's a situation, and you just hope that whatever pans out works out for the works out for owns the characters, right? And then hopefully will still benefit the fans. I mean, who knows, guys? I mean, it could be something to where if this fall and AT&T starts selling, it could be a good thing. You know, I mean, you think about what Marvel did selling off their character. I think it helped them. It helped them take that money to invest back into the books and start doing things right on the publishing side. And then what did they do after that? They own studio started doing the movies right. So hey, you know what? If this fails, it could be just kind of like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. It could be a fresh start for them. Who never knows? But yeah, if DC goes, Marvel won't be behind. And that's a good point, Don. I mean, like when it comes to actual physical book, you know, it could have a domino effect on the industry. But I really don't think, even if something happens where licensing starts getting sold off, I don't think we're at a point in time where we are going to see print books stop being printed. I still think we're far from that. I mean, it's just, to me, it's really, and this is going back to what we talk about how us old collectors or collectors that don't just collect to flip books, we talk about the flippers or the people that collect variants and all these things. It's like there is still big money, guys. There are tons of people out there that will buy any random book off the shelf, 99, and go spend money to get it pressed just because it's a 9.8. It's not even a key book. It's not even a speculation book. It's crazy. There's still money in it. I don't see them wiping out the physical book anytime soon. We shall see. Feels like some characters are hollow now. Venom used to swing and sing through NY when not finding someone had wit and sass. I don't recognize the characters now. That's a good point you're telling. And I'll say this, guys, and I don't want this to be to get political. For all you guys know, this hobby in this community is where we can have whatever political or religious views that we want, and we can sit here and we can sit at a table together and break bread together. And we are not discriminating against anybody for any reason whatsoever. I do not tolerate that. I don't care who you voted for on Tuesday. Well, I live in California. We have primaries. I don't care what church you pray at. We're sitting here. We are human beings. We're brothers and sisters, and we're talking comic books and things that we love. But with that being said, I know there's been a lot of talk about, politics being in comics. Politics has always been in comics. But leaving the politics, focusing on the story alone is really vital. And maybe, like I said, not the politics, not religious, not all. But if there's a weak story, it's going to affect the readers. It's going to affect the demand. And I think that's one thing I talked about, 20 minutes ago, about the publishers and industries test the waters and test the market. Okay, let's see. Do our consumers care more 10 variants than they do a story? Do they care more about cover art than they do a story? Try it out. Let's dish out. Let's stack up let's writer 2 more runs to work on, and just say, hey, keep the story short and simple. Let's see if it can sell. That might be happening. So I think that's another thing where they need to rethink, how in depth are these stories? Are these stories really connecting with the readers? Like I said, regardless of politics and all, just, is it a good story? Or are readers buying into it? It's definitely got to happen. You got to want to balance your customer base out. You got to want to be able to tend to those that want to pick up the book to read it, and you can also tend to those that want to pick up the variants. I read some of the Venom stuff, just because it was a crossover with Spider-Man, and I was Don Slott's Spider-Man, and with Nick Spencer on it now, and I'm behind. I'm like 12 issues behind, but I'm liking where it's going, and I think that Nick Spencer might tackle the whole one more day, a brand new day issue that I had. So that's just my perspective on Spider-Man, my favorite superhero. But so I think there's a lot of good runs out there, guys. Try not to focus on the negative. Try to find what speaks to you, because there's still good writing out there. And again, I don't think Marvel is out there. Not they don't. They're trying things, whether it's trying the right, going finding writers that can really speak to audiences, and putting the right writer on the right run and the right characters. So hopefully we'll see more stories in the future, that really speak to more readers. So and guys, so we've been at this. I probably should get to wrapping up, because I'll let anybody throw some up for kind of some last minute talking points before I go into final words. I'll give you guys a minute there. Man, I didn't know how talking so really try me out. Do I read any indie titles? Okay, let me say something. I just graduated from college last summer, and thank you, Don. Man, having you here is I really appreciate it. I graduated from college. I just I went back to college. It took me 5.5 years. I started the community level, and I earned 2 associate's degrees. Stayed longer, and then I went to Sacramento State University and earned my bachelor's in business. And I will tell you, my reading is so far behind, because I've spent the last 6 years reading textbooks. So as much as I collect for many things. I'm an artist. I love collecting for the art, and I love to read. But it's been very hard for me to keep. And we all have like pet peeves and OCDs. One thing with me is I like to read in runs. So try to collect a whole run before I get to even reading it. And it throws me off sometimes. And I need to step outside of that box, because it screws me up, because I get so behind, and I'm never going to have time to read all this stuff unless I live to be like 500 years old. Right. But so when I finally get a chance to read, I stick to kind of my safety net, what I'm saying. So that's, like Spider-Man. I still been reading my Spider-Man, reading my Star Wars. To answer the question about have I indie, I started reading Monstrous. Like the first, I bought the volume 1 trade. I got through the first few and I was really into it. I bought the American Vampire, and I read the volume 1 trade, and I read the first and I really want to get vampires. And then I read a few minis. I read a few Dynamite miniseries recently. I forget what they were called, but yeah. I bought some trades of oh, what did I buy? Shoot, I got it right up here. I don't. I bought Saga. I bought a couple Saga trades. I haven't read it yet, so I have all these indie that I want to get to reading. And I have a to read bin or box of the individual comic issues. I have a lot of stuff in that has some indie stuff, has some old Verbo stuff from the like late 90s, I think, that I want to read about is in like witchcraft. Is it called witchcraft? I think it's witchcraft limited series called Witchcraft from the 90s. So yeah, I've always been a big, you know, superhero geek, always been Marvel and too, but I really want to get into reading more and more indie, because I was just saying earlier too, I mean, these stories are so broad. It doesn't always have to be about superheroes, you know. It's there's so much. I read in runs too. Yeah, that's why I don't know. Right, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. So hi Alea, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it. Empire State Building. Definitely, I'll check that out. Sure, guys. Well, man, this was awesome. I really appreciate everyone joining. This was my first time in you know, success. I appreciated being able to talk for you guys, and I really want to I want to keep doing this. I want to go into some YouTubers, so it's not just me talking too. You know, we can have a few people like on a panel and really bring up some stuff. And I want to have some last words. Okay, I want to say two things that are some final. Okay, one is I want to reiterate this hobby in collecting, and the fact that there is no wrong or right way to collect comic books. It's kind of like, you know, it's from both sides of the coin, and understanding that the coin wouldn't be the coin without tails and heads, if that's a good metaphor to use. Um, Basically, what I'm trying is getting so stuck in your way, you can still have the other. And having so many different ways is what makes this hobby so great. I collect to collect for the art. I collect to hoard. I'm a hoarder. I collect to invest. I collect for all those reasons. And I enjoy all of them. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty on how you collect comic books. Okay. And you shouldn't make anyone else feel guilty on how they collect if it's different from how you collect. And let's learn from each other. You know, that's the beauty of it. Wrong way to skin a cat, so they say. So that's one final word. My second final word is this, and I want to perpetuate this type of thinking going forward. I want to leave all you watching with this here tonight. This comic so ago, where I got really really deep and personal, because I went through a lot of hard stuff in my life as a teenager, and then getting my family out of Richmond, California, leaving there and trying to get my kids in a good neighborhood. But when I was a teenager, I was a big mess, and getting back into comic books kind of really helped pull me out of that. I've talked about that. And I've talked about what this community has done for me. You know, I've turned to in desperate times. I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2015. I've suffered some trauma that I'm still working through to this day. Having this community, you know, I suffer from insomnia, and to be able to come onto this community, and either whether it's making a video to share with you guys, or being able to go on YouTube if I'm laying in bed and just watching videos, you know, it means so much. And we live in an age where social media in this type of community can be so negative. And there are channels out there that use geek culture and comic books or Star Wars to perpetuate a driving agenda of divisiveness and hate. Now, I'm not saying opinions don't start as being hateful. We can have our opinions. We can not like something. We can speak out about something. But when we start expressing an opinion and using that opinion to belittle and to degrade and to mock and to bully others, that's when we fail as a community. And I want to continue to be a voice that extends to all you guys to let you know what this community should remain being, and that it's a privilege that we have it here to utilize. I mean, come on, all of us old timers, that were collected in the 80s. I mean, tell me that being able to hop on a computer or a smartphone and chime in and talk and meet fellow people. I mean, I've met so much more people that I have never met in person, but I consider them family and friends because, we build these connections, beautiful things. So let's keep it like that. Like I said, man, it doesn't matter who you vote for, type of politics you stand by, whether you pray at a Catholic church, at a Christian church, Baptist, at a mosque, at the synagogue. It doesn't matter whether you're from the US or you're from Iran or China or Canada. It doesn't matter, dude. We are all here for one reason, and let's focus on that reason because it's a beautiful thing. What a time to be alive, man. We got Marvel movies, we got streaming services where we get to see our characters come to life. We can sit here in our homes and be grateful for everything we have, comic books and toys and all of us to share it with. That's my closing thoughts, guys. Thank you all. Thank you, Lisa. Chris, you should watch my episode called Prices I Paid for Marvel Keys in the 80s. Ooh, I will find that interesting. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Man. All right, guys. Thank you so much. For my helper in the back.
What?
Say good night.
Night.
If you didn't get me this water, I probably would be parched by now. But anyways, guys, man, for joining. I really appreciate it. And until next time, guys. Have a good night. Have a good weekend.
Oh, Patrick, my cousin. Oh, that's good.